Welcome to AI Oversight Fridays. We have a wonderful guest today, Allison Hartsoe, she is one of the voices in customer equity. Allison and myself had a chance to work together in the past. It's always have to great a guest when you have been having so many shared experiences and many examples how Fortune 500 companies are solving customer problems. So Allison is Customer Equity Labs founder and owner, and she's championing this topic across really many engagements with Fortune 500 companies. So she executed over 33 engagements with boards and executive teams. She's also the author of the book, which I do have on my table, and we're going to share comments. In our comments, we're going to share the link to the book. So, Allison, welcome.
Thanks, Elena. It's great to be here. It's great to see you again.
Wonderful. So great to reconnect. So we do have a fantastic topic to discuss today because everybody speaks about artificial intelligence. But our focus is how we can maximize the value from artificial intelligence. And many cases in artificial intelligence is right now about customer experience, customer service, customer journey. So I think the topic of customer equity is so timely. But many of our readers do not know what is customer equity is. So maybe my first question, Allison, to you is, can you demystify for our listeners and readers what is customer equity?
Yeah, sure. So customer equity is the financial value of all future profit that a company expects to earn from its customers. It converts the customer relationship from a very soft idea into a measurable business asset. You can think of it as a way to distinguish value creation from value extraction. So revenue, margin, retention, growth, and customer risk all ultimately flow through the customer asset. Customer equity shows whether the decisions that are being made from those other metrics are either building or burning down your future enterprise value.
So I think this is really great distinguish, right? Because what I was thinking is that some companies might be confusing customer equity with simply like a marketing metric, basically how you engage with your customer, right? So, which is really different because it is your financial metric, which showing the value of your customer.
That's right.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. So because of AI, right? So I do see that there are so many cases, almost like number one use case for AI is looking into different customer interactions. And of course, there is a big, topic is because of AI is going into customer interactions, why customer equity is becoming even more important at this moment.
Yeah, I think AI in general has not changed the economics of customer value, but it has changed the speed, the scale, and perhaps the opacity of the decisions that either create or destroy that value. So poor human decision-making can affect dozens of customers previously, but poor automated decision-making can affect millions before leadership sees the damage. So customer equity is the bridge between customer behavior and enterprise value. Therefore, it's more important today than ever before.
I could not agree more, right? So what I'm seeing across all of these AI use cases, and I can really say all, because there are so many conversations about productivity, about efficiency, about cost reduction. I want you to share some example when this over-focus inefficiency have been damaging the customer relationship in a long time.
Yeah, this happens too often, and efficiency it's a means, but it's not a business outcome. And companies tend to measure what AI removed, so labor, cost, time, but they don't measure what it damaged, which could be retention or trust or margin or future revenue. So an example of optimizing for the wrong outcome, in fact, one of my favorite examples is the chatbot that is measured by call offset. So the whole purpose of this chatbot is that you never ever talk to a person. And when a chatbot hits its target for call offset, it's not measuring the increased repeat contacts or frustration levels or churn amongst your most valuable customer. So that service metric improves while the economics deteriorate. Another example in a similar light is loyalty programs, or sometimes in a smaller scale, campaign offers. And that's where there's short-term thinking to lift conversion by over discounting customers who would have purchased anyway. And so the campaign looks successful, but it trains customers to wait for discounts, and it quietly erodes that future margin. So the consequence is that the correct question to ask is not just, did AI lower the cost of this interaction? It's, did the customer base become more or less valuable because of this? And essentially, you cannot cost cut your way to a high quality customer base. And high quality customer bases are what make durable companies.
I really, really like how you said that we are measuring what we are actually cutting. And I do have my personal analogy, because when people say, no, this is efficiency, I said, okay, 1 year is efficiency, next year it's not. The year 3 is not already, right? So I like how you give examples saying, what are we going to measure in year 3? What are we going to measure in year 2, right? So this is not definitely about how many interactions chatbot actually cut it, because it's not going to be relevant, right? So there are so many conversations right now about AI oversight, about AI governance. And I have been personally recording actually sessions to demystify this topic, because I see the big confusion in terms of when people talk about governance, is becoming so technically focused. Like how many data sources we have, what is the quality of data, like information security risks. And I'm not saying this should not be measured, but what I see personally is missing in governance, in AI governance, AI oversight, is value metrics, right? So what do you think about the customer equity? Should this be the part of the governance?
Oh, of course. It should absolutely be a pillar of AI governance, because customer equity has a property that most governance metrics do not. And that is that it works at both the strategic and the tactical level. So at the board level, you can roll it up into the total future financial value of the customer base. But at the operating level, you can slice that same number by customer segment, by product, by channel, by journey, or by AI initiative. And the numbers still reconcile. So that creates a little bit of, creates a really nice quantitative alignment between the board's long-term enterprise value goals and the day-to-day decisions that are being made by the C-suite and the operating teams. Every tactical decision can then be tested against the same question. Is this building future customer value, or is it burning it down? And therefore, the ownership, which is often shared across the company, needs to actually sit with the CEO. So the accountability for the customer equity number sits with the CEO, and secondarily the board, while the individual leaders own the specific levers that create or destroy the value. So what customer equity gives the board and the operating team is the same scoreboard, just different levels of detail.
I could not agree more, right? So, and I know like your passion and my passion for the customer journey and customer success. I would be a little bit concerned that we still do not have like one person accountable.
Yeah.
But I totally understand that it's a shared customer journey. But I would say for the customer equity, we should press really hard to have the single accountability of measurement. Even people own different parts.
Right. And I think it's important that the CEO is more or less the owner of that, because ultimately the long-term enterprise value, that connection is what that CEO is working toward. They're looking to create maximum value for their business. And so I think ownership starts at that level, and it also helps the other teams have the right to take action in order to increase their customer value.
Yes, so we do see so many chatbots, so many AI agents come into place. So I definitely have my stories, but what concerns you the most about all these like rapid changes in implementation of agents and chatbots?
Yeah, my greatest concern around AI as a whole is that it can scale a value extraction business philosophy across millions of customer interactions very quickly, consistently, and almost invisibly. That's not necessarily good, because we've seen, and we've all experienced this, when there's aggressive cost cutting after some private equity acquisition. The products are cheapened, the service declines, and then you have this trusted brand that's just slowly hollowed out. Well, AI can put that very same playbook on steroids. So the immediate financial metrics might improve while customer trust and therefore future enterprise value is dying. So organizations, as a result, should pause when they're thinking about AI in high consequence, ambiguous, or high emotion moments, especially in healthcare or financial hardship, major purchases, pricing decisions, even disputes and complaints to some degree. All of those may be able to engineer the most profitable price, or deny the most claims, or minimize the cost of service. But the fact that they can optimize a decision does not necessarily mean that that decision is ethical, sustainable, or value creating. So what has to remain is trust from the human, is trust and taste, and most of all, like you said before, accountability. Customers should always be able to reach an empowered person through the chatbot or the agent who can understand the context, make a judgment call, and override the system, because customer trust is your most precious economic asset. AI can optimize that transaction, but humans have to guard the trust, ideally using customer equity.
So perfect examples, and we definitely, you and I know many of these brands, right? So one of my favorite one, actually, Bed and Bath Beyond, and I think you mentioned Panera before, right?
So, yeah, Panera. Oh, that was on my that was a blow up on my TikTok channel.
Yes, yeah, definitely. My personal experience just a couple months ago, and I was sharing also on social. I got a gift from my friend from Europe. And I was dealing with DHL. Basically, DHL, my customer experience was dealing with 5 different agents. And agents were not talking to each other at all, because one agent was actually saying me like, pay, was saying like, we don't see your tax, your order is canceled, it's going to be sent back, right? So finally, I got into real person, right? And the real person was not able to override. this is what interesting. So, but real person was really honest, and the guy told me our agents do not talk to each other. I was like, great, right? So, but basically, he was not able to override, and he told me like the system is going to be updated next day. So this is where this agent is going to be correct. I was like, okay, great, yeah. So,
I mean, think about the impact of that story. So you're telling it to me now. You probably told at least a dozen other people.
yes.
And, just the sheer expansion of that story and how you were treated by that company starts to erode the trust. The minute a solid competitor comes in, and,
Yep.
granted, not every company can have an instant competitor, but in the age of AI, the ability to compete is becoming easier and easier. So where is your value? Is your value now decreased because of that experience?
Yeah, totally. And I would say with AI, actually, we're going to see more and more businesses, new businesses who can easily take place of big companies who not actually speeding up in the customer interactions and experience. Yeah, exactly. So you did talk about metrics, right? But let's go a little bit deeper into metrics question, because right now what I'm seeing, this optimization metrics, it's a cost savings, productivity improvement, automation rate, cycle time reduction, right? But what customer metrics deserve equal visibility, which we're not measuring?
Yeah, I would pair those efficiency metrics with a customer value metric so that leaders can see the trade-off rather than just celebrating one side of the equation. And that might look like cost to serve married to retention, or automation rate is beside repeat contacts, escalations, and successful human handoffs. Maybe conversion is right next to margin and discount dependence. And then, of course, show customer equity and its movement by customer segment. Now, segmentation is really interesting because machines do not really need segmentation as much as people do. So for a board, the purpose of that is context. The company averages can look healthy while your most vulnerable and valuable and fast-growing customer groups are just deteriorating underneath. So a dashboard that a board is looking at should clearly flag which AI initiatives are creating customer value and which are merely shifting costs that are in turn consuming that future profit. Because averages can reassure you while your most valuable customers are walking out the door.
So if you will be designing the board dashboard, right, for the metrics, and I know you do, because I do see this from your book, I see from your services to boards and companies, what type of metrics you would include to the board dashboard?
So, the ones that we talked about a minute ago are pretty much where I would pair up and land, but I would add the customer equity metric, because as you have all your financial engineering, are we operating efficiently? You need to pair that with, is that efficiency sacrificing future growth?
Yes, yeah, got it. And by the way, for people who listen us, I would recommend you to read about these metrics in Allison's book, because you're gonna find way more. And if you, the board director or you executive, you're going to be able to design your dashboard to think about like what actually needs to be included. So let's be optimistic, and I'm always optimistic. And because I do believe AI can bring a lot of value to our customer interactions and building our future and building our customer equity, right? But what do you think where AI can actually help to create better relationship, to make the stronger relationship with customers, and as a result, to drive customer equity up?
Yeah, I think the winners who are using AI will reimagine how their business succeeds. So to remove friction and direct their scarcest human resources to those moments which create customer trust and therefore enterprise value is an easy go-to. The people who aren't going to win are going to focus on AI for short-term cost savings, short-term projects, without really a vision of how it all comes together. The interesting part is that you can get a durable competitive advantage by creating this proprietary learning loop where you focus on the right customers for strategic advantage, and that deep understanding of your own customer base generates efficiencies across marketing spend, product innovation, and more, basically any area that the customer touches. But the bigger secret that most people don't know is that customer equity leaders in turn find that efficient cash flow creates better debt terms, which can then feed growth. So you're throwing off a lot of cash because you're efficient. Then the banks want to give you money on better terms. Then you can feed more growth or have higher multiples for acquisition. It just starts to give the business a very good control of their destiny. So competitors, unfortunately, they can buy the same model, but they cannot instantly replicate the way that you make decisions in the business, that trusted way of allowing your frontline agent to be empowered, or the way you operationalize your segmentation level economics or your organizational judgment. So the model can be purchased, but the economics and the decision-making that flows from that customer learning system, that's human, and that's what creates the leader.
So, Allison, I could not agree more. So this is actually one of the biggest mystery in my book. I'm trying to demystify for boards and executives. I keep saying that your AI is not a chatbot. Your AI is an intelligence learning organization, right? So exactly what you're describing. So your intellectual property is how fast you can learn. How fast you can learn from customer interactions, from your knowledge of your employees, from your decisions, as you said, right? Yes. So, and we know such companies, right? Because you and I started our career in digital first businesses, and digital first businesses, this is how they have been always learning. So
and
they have been learning.
You mentioned something really important that I don't want to let pass by. We talk about customer equity a lot and about the customer, but you mentioned employee, and these two almost run like a DNA strand, hand in hand. Empowered employees work hand in hand with happy customers, and so that initiative, when you add AI to an initiative like that, where those two sides are growing, it's unbeatable.
Unbeatable, absolutely. And this is exactly nobody can reproduce. As you said, as competitors can buy another system, I mean, the same system, right? So competitors can produce the same product, right? But they cannot reproduce your thinking. They cannot reproduce your decision, your customer interaction. They cannot.
And the insights that are coming from your employees.
Exactly. So combined. So I do hear maybe one term I also mentioned to you is I started hearing that democratizing intelligence, right? So I think this is the part of the system. We keep talking about democratizing data, democratizing analytics, democratizing processes, right? Yeah. But democratizing intelligence, this is another term I keep hearing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. So maybe the last question before we go into quick lightning round. So the last question, the board question. So we do have quite a lot of people who are working board directors, or inspiring board directors, or executives who are working with boards. So I would love to ask you is that imagine that customer equity is actually included into the board dashboard. And I'm sure it will, because I don't think there is another way around, to be honest, right? Mm-hmm. So how differently organizations would invest into AI?
Yeah, that is a wonderful question, and I love that question. So if customer equity sat beside revenue, earnings, and operating margin, the board conversation would shift from isolated efficiency gains into long-term enterprise value because they can see it. So leaders would not ask, will this or what will this AI initiative save this quarter, but they'll see around the corner and ask, will it strengthen or consume the customer asset that is producing our future cash flow? That would change which initiatives receive capital, how risk is evaluated, and how management is held accountable. It would also give operating teams a clear mandate to build more valuable customers, rescue those at risk, and measure whether those actions are working. But even better, it would make incentives harder to game. So your management team could not claim success by lowering this quarter's costs and transferring the damage into future churn, margin loss, or declining customer value. Customer equity makes it hard to book the savings today and hide the damage tomorrow.
I mean, absolutely love it, right? So I think we're going to see this. So I really know we're going to see it, because this is where I see the conversation about AI adoption and value is going. The great news, both you and I know that it is measurable. This is not something you can say like, oh, you can build your journey. You can see all touch points. You can see, and you can, make projections what is going to happen, basically. Mm-hmm. So yeah, wonderful. So let's go to really a quick lightning session. Short question, short answer. The question number one: what is the biggest misconception leaders have about AI and customer experience?
That a cheaper customer interaction is automatically a better business outcome.
Love it. So the next question: AI should optimize blank, not just efficiency.
Long-term customer and enterprise value.
Long-term, 100%. The one customer metric every chief executive officer should monitor is
customer equity and how it's changing. So, so they can see how it's changing so that they see the future challenges and get ahead of them.
Absolutely. So trust is
an economic asset that compounds through loyalty and can be damaged at machine speed.
Love compounding side. What is one thing AI should never replace?
Human accountability.
Love it. Absolutely. We do need accountability. What's one question every board should ask before approving major AI initiative?
How will this initiative change the future value of the customers it affects?
Wonderful. Organizations that succeed with AI will
use AI to deepen relationships, not simply reduce the cost of serving them.
Love it. One prediction about AI in customer relationships over the next maybe 3-5 years.
Companies that discover that they have poorly governed AI will create a hidden customer value liability and find themselves struggling to catch up with the customer equity leaders.
Okay, and the last question is that you have been sitting in many boardrooms, so many conversations, Fortune 500 companies as well. What is one boardroom question that almost nobody is asking today, but should be?
Wow. Customer equity is the asset that predicts the health of our customer base. Why aren't we measuring it?
Love it. Absolutely. So, Allison, it was so delighted to talk to you. For all our listeners and readers, you're going to see the link to Allison's book and resources down in the comments. Please put your questions in comments. We will be happy to answer all of your questions. Thank you so much for joining us on Friday. I do believe this is one of the topics we're going to be coming back more and more times, because this is the number one use case many companies are looking right now for AI. Thank you so much, Allison.
Thank you, Leda.